into a new world of gods and monsters.
He's alive!
Here's Johnny.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, I'm telling you, brother, it's a frightful sight. See what goes on Halloween night.
Hey, we are back with Why We Love Horror episode 14. And there's some changes here. We got two new co-hosts going to be joining me from now on. We got Calamity John.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Hey, and Melissa.
Hello. I don't have like a name, but yeah, I'm here.
And it comes with new co-hosts as a new format, which John actually brought us. So I'm going to have John kind of explain what we're going to be doing from now on.
Yeah, pretty much every episode, and this episode will be a little bit different. You'll see why in a little bit. But what we'll do is we'll pick a movie that's like newer, that's got buzz about it, that people are talking about in the community. We'll talk about that movie, and if you like or dislike that movie, what we'll do is we'll pair it with another movie that you might not know about to expand your horizons within horror.
Fucking A, I like it. I thought it was a great idea for this, and bringing on you two was the right move to make because you both are pretty much the only other big horror hounds in this community that can actually talk horror and actually enjoy, for the most part, horror.
Yeah.
Like I said, the show is called Why We Love Horror, and I believe between the three of us, we do love horror
Yes.
exponentially. But after today's episode, you will probably be asking yourself, shouldn't the show be called, like, Why Do They Tolerate Horror? And that is exactly what we're going to be getting into today.
So let's just get right into it with the first movie that we're going to be talking about, Skinamarink. Now, can one of you explain the plot of this movie better than I can?
Can we?
Melissa, you want to go?
I mean, it's difficult to explain because I think a lot of it is kind of up to your interpretation, but essentially it's about these two children who are in their home and all of a sudden like there's no walls, there's no doors, and they're like maybe transported to another dimension, or maybe they're locked in their house, maybe it's a metaphor and abuse. I don't know, there's so many things with this movie, but like I would say it's generally about these two kids that are like trapped in their house and there's no adults in sight, and one of the children suffers like a concussion, and maybe it's important to the plot, maybe it's not, I don't know. The plot is very lacking, which I think is kind of part of the problem with this film for me, but I don't know if I did a good job summarizing that at all.
I'd say it's exactly what Melissa said.
Yes.
But you get a partial perspective of everything throughout the entire movie. It's as if that movie was going on over here.
Yes.
That's the whole movie. It's going on somewhere over there.
Yeah.
It's directed by
up here.
It's
or
directed
down
by
there.
first-time filmmaker Kyle Edward Ball. It was made for around $15,000 and it pulled in about $2 million. So I'll give that as a positive.
That budget was Legos.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a positive of this movie, is that it's made enough to where hopefully they'll open up more independent horror to hit theaters, because we are sorely lacking that. But this movie, yeah, as you guys explained, the camera's just everywhere the action is not. And it's very weird. Like they'll have it on a set of drawers for like 20 seconds. And you just hear the camera and that's about it. And then it'll just cut to something else for no reason. And I think that a lot has to do with him as a first-time filmmaker as well, is that he doesn't know when to cut away quick enough for stuff like that. And I know it looked like he was trying to do a Blair Witch Project meets Paranormal Activity style thing with using a bunch of noises to kind of further the plot. But the problem is you can't really hear what's going on. They had to actually have the subtitles in the movie to kind of, and not all the time, it's just some of the time you'll see random words pop up of what the kids are trying to say, and it just wasn't interesting. I guess is the right term. It's kind of boring throughout.
Yeah. I'm not like fully negative on Skinamarink. Like I get it. I get the sense that like it really is, and I believe when I told you guys about it, if you hadn't watched it, that it's pretty experiential, and it's meant to be watched like in a dark theater. It's meant to be unsettling. I think that he uses a lot of like those subtle, like low noises, and just creates atmosphere that makes you kind of feel terrified because there's a dread. The entire movie, there's just a dread of like what is going to happen. Does anything ever happen? I don't know. Watch the movie. But throughout all like the ambient noises and all that ASMR stuff that's going on in that movie, like you really start like anticipating it. And I think that was the goal of the movie, to make you feel that way. If that's the goal, then rousing success. But I don't know if you can necessarily build a successful like blockbuster on that. It's clearly an experimental movie.
Yeah, and I think people who really enjoyed it are people who have a fear of the dark, or maybe did as a child, because I think it definitely plays into that. And for me personally, like I've never had that fear. I was talking to Aaron about this a little bit. I was like, yeah, like those little speckly things, and like when it's like really, really dark, I used to think those were like fairies. Like I didn't think they were scary. Like versus like I think a lot of people, can interpret what you see in the dark. You can make your own images, and usually it's something maybe terrifying. But I don't know. It just did not work for me at all. Like it was a very difficult watch because yes, it was just boring. Like the pacing is awful. Like I think this would have worked really well as like maybe 30-45 minutes, like a shorter film. But yeah, it's way too long.
I think if they would have done what they did with like Host from 2020 and made 60 minutes or less and cut out a lot of the fat out, I think it would have been a very much betterly paced film. One scene I will say that I kind of enjoyed was, basically one of the few only action scenes of actually something happening is when is it Kaylee? Kaylee goes into the room and she sees her dad sitting there, and then the camera moves and he says to check underneath the bed. She does, and then when it comes back up, the mom is sitting there not looking at her, and then it just goes back to the dad and goes back, and I went, that is actually a good horror moment there that he had, but it was just too far in between everything else going on to actually make it completely engrossing.
I think the concept of like filming a movie from the perspective of a terrified child, there's something there.
Yes, 100%.
I think there's something there. I don't necessarily think that this was like a home run, but I think it was like maybe the first attempt that we needed for somebody else to come along and go, no, this is what it's supposed to be like. I can definitely see that happening.
Melissa, what did you feel for definitely the end stuff, how it kind of I guess you can say it kind of transports them to somewhere else, or like in the future.
Are you talking about when it's like, I think it's like 500 something days later? Talking about like that piece? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what we're doing here. Like, they've been trapped in this like dimension for a little bit more or like about 2 years or something. I didn't feel anything. I think that's like why I struggled with the film. Like, I didn't feel scared. I didn't really feel this dread. I just felt bored. Like I really did. I wanted something to happen. I do like commend that it was a success. Like I think that's great. Because obviously with the state of like movies and the theater and all that, like right now, I think that this is great. And like I can't like praise that enough. That it was like a financial success and like people actually went to the theater to go see this. I do kind of wish I saw this in the theater. I think that is the best place to see this movie.
I would think if there were people around and like they were like, if I was with like 100 people and they were getting nervous, that might be like contagious.
Yeah.
But, like, watching it by yourself, I'm with Melissa. Yeah, it's not scary. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess just to answer your question about like the ending, I don't know. Just like at that point, I was feeling not a whole lot. I will say I really did like that shot of like all the toys like on the ceiling. I thought that looked cool.
Yeah.
I wish we maybe got a little bit more of that, or just like a little bit more of what this like monster is. I don't mind, like I don't need to be like spoon fed things, and I don't need to like see the monster a lot, but I wanted like a little bit more of like what this entity is or something.
I agree with that too. Like I said, and I do think, I don't know if you want to throw the spoilers up, Mike. I don't know if you want to throw those up, but
yeah, dude. Even though this movie kind of it's kind of hard to know what a spoiler and spoil isn't for this, but
I do
anyway.
think I was a big fan of the dude from Toy Story 3 making a cameo. That was a big surprise. When he showed up, I was like, "Oh, shit's getting real," and then even he blew it. So there's that.
I am curious about your guys' thoughts about like that it's set in 1995. Did that like do anything for you?
I don't think like that. 95? Yeah, he didn't really do anything to kind of put it in that like completely in that time frame. So if he would have done a little bit more with using the 90s aspect to it, maybe it would have gotten something more about it. But nothing really was I guess, spotlighted towards the 90s, with the exception of a few things.
It had a feel of like kids in the 90s whose parents grew up in the 70s, who brought all their crap from the 70s to the 90s house, but couldn't afford cable. So it was all just like UHF television. That's not my 90s experience, but maybe it's somebody's 90s experience.
Yeah, I found that like distracting in a way. I was just like, why are we in 1995? And then just nothing really like. I agree with kind of what John said. Like I could see that as kind of the take, but I just, again, with such the lack of like dialogue and just information, it's like you kind of want to hold on to everything that you see, like 1995 and like 500 whatever amount days later, the little dialogue that we see, but it's just I don't know. It doesn't all come together.
The true horror is, was I supposed to understand this movie? And am I stupid for not getting it? That's what scared me the most, I think, in this movie.
See, I do agree with John in the respect that there is a cool concept here, and I am very interested to see what this guy does next with a bigger budget, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because I think with a bigger budget, he can probably pull off something very interesting, especially if he goes experimental again. It's just with this being as low budgeted as it is, yeah, there are limitations he can do, and it definitely shows in this movie because, like we've said, the random shots for no reason, the audio issues especially, it's just everything in between just kind of falters this from being something I would actually go back to. I don't think I'll ever really go back to this after this.
Probably, I might go back to it, like you said, if Tyler Ball makes another movie, kind of like how how they made Saw and then they made Saw again. Like if he did it again and he was like, this is what I meant to do, or like how Evil Dead 2 is like kind of like what they meant to do with Evil Dead, like that would make it like worth putting a juxtaposition of the two movies. But you're right, I probably wouldn't, because I can't imagine like what I'm gonna get the second time around, unless I have my spy gear and I'm like my directional microphone and like what does he say? Maybe they might have missed something that way, but I'm not gonna dissect this movie like it's Lost. Lost was an experience.
Melissa, how about you?
Yeah, I probably won't be revisiting this. I appreciate it. I think especially like since I've watched it and also just talking it out tonight, I appreciate it. It's not really for me. I would recommend it to give it a shot, I guess, especially because it is kind of buzzing right now. But I don't know. I am curious to see what he does next. I will say I think the most terrifying part was the toilet disappearing because
yeah, oh yeah. And you see the bucket just come like kicked into the screen. You just know what they're about to do.
But yeah.
So at the video store, and we have VHS tapes as our kind of review scores. So out of 5 VHS tapes, I guess since we have a letterbox, might as well go with 5. John, I'll go with you first. What would you rate this out of 5 VHS tapes?
I'm pretty sure my rating on Letterboxd, and like, feel free to jump in those comments and correct me if I'm wrong about what I rated this movie. But I think I had it between a 2 and a 2.5. Like I definitely, like I said, everything. I appreciate the movie. However, as an experience, like really, like it wears thin after a while. Like you're sitting there hoping something will happen, and you keep convincing yourself, like, give me 2 more minutes, give me 2 more minutes, give me 2 more minutes. And then after you say that for the 20th time, you're like, they screwed me. They screwed, and then you get angry. So.
So 2.5.
2.25 out of 5.
2.25. Okay. You know what? Let's go that. Yeah. Melissa, how about you?
Yeah, I'll stick with what I put on Letterboxd and how I felt actually watching the film. I'll give it 1. It's too dark. I can't hear anything really. Terrible angles, terrible pacing. I did not have a good time watching this movie. So I'll give it 1 VHS because I do appreciate it a little bit. But yeah.
Now, before I give my score, I have to explain it to the people that don't actually know me or have followed me on Letterboxd. I'm a weirdo, and I start my scores at a 2 because anybody that can finish a movie to me, I'll give them a fucking 2 at the very least. So with that being said, with the small little things here and there, like the scene with the dad and the mom and the toilet disappearing, it's kind of hilarious. I'm going to give 2.5. I'll go 2.5 on it. Just a little bit above it being a complete waste of time, but still not something I would actually recommend anybody to check out unless you're kind of bored and you want to be more bored. Maybe check it out.
And I double checked my Letterboxd. I did give it a 2.5. So good.
Oh, there we go.
Don't get in those comments. Don't get in those comments.
All right. Well, we will be moving on to our next movie, another experimental movie from 1989, Begotten. Now, who wants to try to explain the plot of this one?
So, I mean, just watching the film, I did not get this from the film. Like, I had to look this up. So, apparently, the plot synopsis is God kills himself and then gives birth to Mother Earth. And then, I don't know, she gets, like, raped. She gives birth to, like, Jesus. I don't know. Someone. There's an umbilical cord. That's the movie. It's like a twist on the Book of Genesis.
That's kind of what I got out of that, because I also had to look it up afterwards to kind of know, to kind of try to explain what the fuck I just watched, and that's the best probably interpretation of this movie.
Yeah, that is also what I got out of it, and basically, like I was joking around with Mike beforehand, and I was like, you can just watch Darren Aronofsky's Mother. He does it way better. Like it's way better. Just watch that. Yeah, Begotten was like, as I was watching it, and like I don't hate Eraserhead or David Lynch, but I definitely blame him for Begotten. It's definitely his fault because this guy thought he was making Eraserhead. He thought he was remaking Eraserhead, and he was not doing that.
No,
so David Lynch didn't. He didn't call up Edmund Elias where he was like, "You make a movie like Eraserhead," and he was like, "Sure, sir." But this guy definitely, him and his friends in a field in Brooklyn, thought he was making Eraserhead, and he was not making Eraserhead.
David Lynch is innocent. I don't agree with this.
He didn't intend for it to happen, but I think he needs to shoulder some of the blame here.
Now,
go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, I feel like the vibe of the movie, or like kind of after the fact, it reminds me of like this like cursed video that like after you watch it, like you are now cursed, because it feels like something that's just like not even of this earth almost. It feels like, which I will, I guess, commend them on that, or like give them some kudos of like just so creepy. It doesn't look like it was made in 1989 by any means. It looks like it was made in like
the 20s.
I don't fucking know, like the 1500s, like, which is like not even possible. But like it looks very old and creepy.
Yeah, I just watched Destiny by Fritz Lang like a few days ago, and like it's real similar. It's like it's that whole like jerky 1920s. Like there should have been more like just cutaways to like the dialogue, and that might actually improve the movie.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll agree. It does seem like a cursed movie. It's the way it's filmed, the way that it just seemed like something that you just found in a like at a swap meet in a pail of like VHS tapes that aren't fucking labeled, and you put this on and go, "What the fuck were these people thinking?" I will say the opening got me hyped. The opening got me hyped though with the disembowelment. I went, okay, let's fucking go. This is gonna get. And then after that, nothing fucking happened yet again. It was random shit going on. I went,
yeah, they front loaded
fuck. Yeah, if that would have been the whole movie, just that type of shit, even experimental wise, I went, okay, I've been entertained by it at the very least.
Yeah, the whole opening, the whole like first 10 to 15 minutes where there's like a really slow self-mutilation followed by like giving birth to a woman. Then there's like a hand job. You're like, whoa, here we go. And then it's just like, then the movie just goes off the rails. It was off the rails to begin with. Yeah. And it just hit the rails and bounced further off the rails.
Have you guys seen Tetsuo, the Iron Man?
Yes.
It kind of gave me those vibes at times, like the beginning, I guess. But that movie's like way more effective, and I actually enjoy that. But like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't get hyped by the beginning, but I'm glad you guys did.
Fair. I mean, there's some movies though that you watch. Like if you go down that rabbit hole of like, you know, like extreme horror, like there's movies that are just that are like those first 15 minutes of the movie, and then they go off in that direction. Like, okay, well, I guess I'm just watching a snuff film for 90 minutes. But Begotten doesn't even go in that direction. It goes into some like weird, like it's just weird, jerky, like it's clear. It was the guy's theater troupe from New York, and they're clearly like a off Broadway theater troupe. You get throughout the entire movie.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I think the visuals in general, like some of them were interesting. Some of the shots that they did, some of the stuff that happened, even though I didn't know what the fuck was happening some of the time, was interesting concept of, but overall it didn't give me anything to go with the visual at all. And the lack of dialogue didn't help the fucking thing at all. It did not help it at all. Like I enjoy me some silent movies, I really do, but this one was too confusing to have to be silent throughout the thing.
And like again, kind of this, not so much with Skinamarink, but more with this. Like you read some of the positive reviews of Begotten online, and you're like, I want to meet this person. They're interesting. Like, this person is interesting because like they saw stuff in this movie that I did not see at all.
Yeah, because I like Melissa, I had to look it up on Wikipedia after I watched it, and just like reading the plot of what they have, saw some of it. Like, the majority of it, I went, you got to be talking out of your ass here with what's going on. Like, there's no fucking way all this shit actually happened that I could really miss. Like, I do remember, like, what do they have it? When they throw the man into the fire pit and he burns. I remember that, and that was one of the things that was kind of interesting to happen throughout it. But then you see some of the, like, you see the Mother Earth, the Son of Earth, and stuff like that, and it's not explained well at all that would be who they are in this movie.
Yeah, like you don't know that.
Yeah.
No.
It looks like a bad leather face.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
That's good.
Bad leather face is cutting himself. Then there's a lady, and she interacts with dead leather face in a weird way. And then there's like an epileptic guy, and then a bunch of people come and abuse the lady and the epileptic guy, and then the movie ends. That's it.
Okay, one of the most shocking things is on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 67% critic score and then a 65% audience score, which I think is insane.
Oh, they're coming for us then.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. Like holy shit, that's pretty much almost a positive.
Yeah.
That's on the brink of being positive. That's insane.
Again, just like Skinamarink, I feel this is a movie where like if you criticize it, like you do so with like a little bit of trepidation because like the real film fanatics are like, you're not a film fanatic. Like you don't appreciate cinema. It's like, well, I thought I did, but I guess I don't.
I say we do. Everyone has their own opinions, but I do think it's interesting. Like in comparison, Skinamarink has a 44% audience score. So like you're telling me more people like Begotten? That's insane. That's insane.
I was more entertained by Skinamarink than I was Begotten.
Yeah, same.
But I think what explains that, Melissa, is like Skinamarink was like advertised, right? Like I was alive in 1989. I don't remember Begotten like even being on my radar like at all. And then growing up in the 90s and like watching horror movies and like finding rarer horror movies, like I didn't really know Begotten existed until somebody was like, "Oh, you like experimental horror?" So I think the people that are watching Begotten are looking for Begotten. Yeah, sure. So that's why
that's fair.
Like no one's stumbling upon Begotten like playing at 3 a.m. on WPIX. Like that's not happening.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I will admit, I did find this movie a couple years ago on an experimental list. That's the first time I'd ever heard of it, and I put it on my watch list. And it took me this long to actually watch it, and now I understand why I found it on this random list and nowhere else really of it being brought up.
If you're looking for this, if this is your jam, you're gonna love it.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna love it. But if you're just like, I like horror in general, like I appreciate that, I like Get Out, and I like the Halloween franchise. Then you put on Begotten, you're like, oh man, am I not a fan? I don't know. Like you're gonna have a second of self doubt, and then you're gonna be like, nah, I'm good.
Well, with that said, we're going to get to the reviews of this, which, yeah. I'll start with this one. Gave it a 2. I just didn't get really anything out of it at all. It was just, I get it. Like, if you're, like John said, if you're into really experimental films, you're probably going to get something out of this. I didn't really get that much out of it. It was just extremely, again, boring, and the visuals didn't captivate me at all. Melissa, what would you say for Begotten?
Can I give 0?
I won't even put one up. 0 is good. Yeah.
I felt so sick after watching this. Like it was just so disturbing and gross. And like I don't have anything really positive to say. I guess the only positive thing is like, yeah, you made it look really old. and the effects are okay at times, but like, yeah, like a woman's raped. Like I don't care about any of these characters. There's no dialogue. Like, yeah, I'm gonna give this no VHS tapes.
John, how about you?
I did give this 1.5. I really only reserve like 1.5 a tape for like things that I'm just like where I can just totally slice and dice it apart. I don't have much like technical advice for Begotten. They definitely achieved what they set out to do.
Yes,
and I understand the appeal of it. I can understand like why artsy people like it. However, totally with you guys. Like the whole time, I was just like. That happened. That happened, and then the movie ends.
Well, there we have it. We had Skinamarink, and we had Begotten. Now, we understand. We have Why We Love Horror as a show, and we just came on with a fucking wrecking ball and pretty much shit on 2 movies. But next week should be more positive.
I promise.
Yeah, we're going to be talking Infinity Pool and Society, also 1989, which I cannot wait for that discussion because those 2 movies, fucking A, they had some good shit involved in that. John, Melissa, it was great having you guys join me for this and join me for good for Why We Love Horror. Because I think this is a good group here. This is 100% a good group, and I can't wait to see where we go from here with the movies. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to plug or say about these 2 movies before we head on out?
Thanks for having me, and I'm sorry that we started so strong here, I guess. Like, with these terrible movies. It's only up from here.
Yeah, we're not gonna, you know, we can only go up from here. You know, we didn't intend for this to happen. We just picked a movie that had buzz and attached something to it. And every week it's gonna be a roll of the dice. You know, we're gonna get some movies. Maybe we've seen them, maybe we haven't seen them. But hey, you know, that's part of the game that we're gonna have going on here. That's fine. You know, you can find us at these letterboxes under our names.
Yes.
I'm here on this channel doing a bunch of stuff. We're running Trivia League Unlimited coming up soon. Melissa's gonna be in the first match, so best of luck to her. And that's all I got for right now.
Yeah, and this will be dropping Thursday morning. So I'm going to try to drop it every Thursday morning. So check that out. More than likely, I'm going to be putting it up at 11 a.m. Eastern. Give people the time to watch it throughout the day. Also, Thursday night, Bar's coming back with his set list, episode 2. So go check that out, guys. We will see you next time on Why We Love Horror.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly. Hurry back. Be sure to bring your death certificate.